Samantha Rosewell, and today I'm going to teach you how to use the manipulative, the attribute shapes to teach patterning to kindergarten and first grade students. First, I'd have the students pair up on their desk and sort the shapes in any way they want. I'm going to separate them by their shape instead of color. So all the triangles will go in one area, and all the squares in another, and then the circles in another. In each group there should be 2 large shapes and 2 small shapes of every color since they're in pairs. And some students might choose to organize their shape by color instead of shape, which is fine. It's whatever the group decides they want to do. Alright, once they have their shapes organized on the board, I would have a pattern, and the students would mimic my pattern and then solve the missing piece. For instance, I could put a big circle next to a smaller circle, and then a different color circle, and ask what would come next. So the students would figure out this is a large blue circle next to a small blue circle, and then this is a large green circle, and then they'd have to figure out what would be next. The only conclusion they could come with would be a small green circle. A harder pattern could be and then I would ask the students what would be next. So for the first one, we have a big yellow triangle underneath a small yellow triangle, and then this one would be a small blue circle underneath a large blue circle. And then we have this, a large yellow triangle underneath a small triangle. The only thing they could come up with would be this, because these are matching and these would be matching. Alright, for this one, we have a large green square next to a large blue circle, and then we have a small green square. So the students need to look through their shapes and figure out what could be here. Since these are 2 large shapes and this is a small shape, they should be able to realize that the next shape is going to be small. Since this is green and this is green, they should conclude that the next one would be blue. And this is a circle and these are squares. So the students might understand that this one's going to be circle, and since this is a blue and this is small, this should be a blue small circle. And instead of putting shapes on the board, the students can create their own. So I would give them time with their partner to create different patterns for their other partner to finish. And some that they might choose could be as simple as this, and ask what would come next. And obviously it would be a small red triangle. But some students might use multiple shapes in their patterns. Like this. And instead of having 4, they could ask what could come next, and possibility could just be as simple as matching them like this. So you don't have to use 4, you can use 3. Or students can also use groups, like this is a group. You could use this as a group, and then they could use this as a group. And with the blocks that they have left, Since the only color that we have not used would be red, a solution to this problem could be this. And the last example that I'm going to show you could be something for older students that could be a little more difficult. Could be instead of having the blank at the end, the students need to figure out what would be in the middle. And so these are corresponding by their shape, but not by color. And so this is what we're trying to figure out. So the students need to figure out what shape corresponds with this, but it needs to be red. So the student could figure out all the red shapes that they could use, which would be all of these. They could separate all the red if they were having trouble figuring out the solution. And then they could see that these two are big squares, so they know they're going to need a big square. And that these are big triangles, so they're going to need a big triangle. So now they have these two pieces, and they have to figure out which way they go. Since these two are corresponding with the two triangles on the bottom, this needs to correspond with the missing piece, so that means the triangle needs to correspond with the triangle, which would go here. And these two squares correspond with each other, so the square would go here. This is a few ways that you can use attribute shapes with anywhere from kindergarten through 4th grade, depending on the level of the pattern that you choose.